Welcome everybody. It's good to have you. It is already week 8, and as our teams get on, let's hear where you're from, or let's see where you're from in the chat. Tell us all about yourself. All right.
Hey, Jamie. Walter Love. Walter Love is always on, Dennis.
Yeah, he is a great student, and he is a great leader, and he's learning every day.
You talk about him. That's why I recognize the name.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Plus, it's a cool name. Walter Love.
It is a good name. It is a good name.
Hey, Greg, Kirsty, nice to see everybody jumping on all over.
Absolutely. It is good, good, good. Hey, Jim, so how was your week? Do you have a good week?
Had a great week, great weekend. It's Monday, which means we got a fresh start to everything. And we've only got, Dennis, 23 days left for people to hit Master UFO this quarter. Well, so we got to get everybody rolling. I think this session's going to be big.
Well, I've got good news. I've got 2 different individuals that have already hit Master UFO with, 3 weeks to go, 3.5 weeks to go. So that's great.
Oh, that is awesome.
I got to tell Pat, I got to send out a big hoorah for the Upper Michigan team that's on tonight. Being a fellow Wolverine, it's sort of, Big Ten is, it's good to be in the Big Ten world. Massachusetts is on. Yes, absolutely. Man, people are piling on. Yes, from Pennsylvania.
Let's get rolling. You and I got a lot to cover tonight.
Okay, no problem. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week number 8. This is going to be a fun evening. We're going to be talking about troubleshooting and conversational marketing. And Jim, as always, it's a pleasure to be with you, an outstanding builder, a great leader, and of course, our vice president of sales of Global Market AmericaShop.com. Welcome.
It's great to be here, Dennis. And I think, this class for everybody watching, this is Dennis's expertise. So pay close attention. He is the best at troubleshooting and talking to people. I mean, you can feel like there's a problem. You talk to Dennis and all of a sudden it seems like everything's great. You don't know what happened. So he's going to give you some great tips, and we'll share everything we can as we go through tonight.
Oh, great, Jim. Thank you very much. Yes, here we are, week 8, and we're getting lined up. But I first want to compliment everybody who submitted their homework assignments. I mean, the diagnostic, I hope there was a lot of eye openings when you saw that.
Oh, yeah. Put in the chat if that opened your eyes up a little when you did it. And then we redid our names list too, Dennis, as part of the homework assignment, which is a great thing to do when you're working on expanding that business or expanding that customer base.
I was talking to Linda and Michael McLaughlin outside of the Philadelphia area, and they said, my goodness, doing the diagnostic showed us how much we have that we can improve, and they're growing tremendously now. Just think about it when they put this all together. So it is truly a great way to measure yourself and your team. Very, very excited about that. But congratulations to everyone that put their time in. And for those of you that did not do the homework, you can go back and listen to the Zoom recording. Go ahead and dive into that diagnostic test. And don't forget, that first 15 minutes of that segment was Jim and I talking about how you can turn around and grow your supplemental income faster. And so that's something you may want to go back and listen to it a few times as we go forward.
It's great that we have all these on a playlist, Dennis, for people, and to go back and pick areas they may want to hear a second or third time, or share it with new people as well.
Absolutely. And this is something you can keep coming back to. And by the way, I know many of you are working really hard towards Master UFO. And I want to tell you, keep working, keep your head down, pump the arms. You got to keep driving, all the way through the finish line. You've got time. So keep going. Don't give up. Just keep driving. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the topic tonight. And I'm pretty fired up about this. And Jim, you are right. One of the nice things that I've learned over the 40 years of being in network marketing is I've learned how to observe and coach and really see what's going on. And of course, as we were talking earlier, both you and I were qualifying as Master UFOs again this quarter and getting out there to do exactly what we've been asking other teammates to do.
Yeah, but if I'm correct, I think you just sponsored your second person this month, Mr. Franks. That is, you're superhero status on top of the hours you work with what you do. So that you take a lot of excuses away when you're doing that.
Well, you know how we talk about this all the time. We don't want to ask anyone to do anything that we don't do ourselves. But a lot of people have asked, what exactly is troubleshooting? And I just want to tell you that it refers to why I am not getting a desired outcome. Now think about that. Did you ever walk away from a call or a one-on-one or a Zoom meeting and just scratch your head and say, why didn't that happen? You know, I did everything right. What was wrong? And we normally just say, oh, wrong person, you know, but why is it that we're talking to so many wrong people? So sometimes we just have to ask ourselves about, are we doing everything we possibly can?
It's a great point. And how do we improve? And, you know, a lot of times it's just a little tweak that can make a big difference in what you're doing. And that's what we're going to try to give you some tweaks while we go through this tonight. And also give you that thought process so you can tweak in the future when you feel like it's not where you need it to be.
Okay, great. So let's dive into this. And I thought I'd give you some of the desired outcomes that we're referring to. So number one, for getting new preferred customers. You know, when you're doing accountability, we always look to register new preferred customers, even if they don't purchase a product at the time, but getting them familiar and in your shop.com quiver so that we have someone to market to ongoing. Also closing a new product sale. Very important. Selling new products to an existing customer really supports the building share of customers. Working to book that follow-up meeting. Have you ever really come away and really didn't get that follow-up meeting because you didn't ask? Well, wonder why. Let's set up the evaluation with a prospect. Set up an evaluation with a prospect and their friends. How about register a new partner? Set up an auto ship with a new partner. Even setting up an auto renewal or selling an event ticket, the GMTSS ticket, which is so important, or even getting that call back. And most recently, I've heard the term, I don't know if you've ever been ghosted, but I think I have on a couple occasions when
I'm being ghosted right now by one of my people. I'm trying to reach them, and I finally sent a message today. I said, are you okay? I'm so worried you're not calling back. Because I know you're the kind of person who never not responds. And you know, as Dennis went through, how many of us run into all of these at some point? That we get something you know, it's not just when you're trying to talk to a prospect or just trying to talk to a customer. It's within our own organizations, the troubleshooting, it's within our own teammates. So these are the outcomes we're looking for. What can we do to get them?
Absolutely. All right.
And, you know, when you talk about trigger areas and you take a look at this troubleshooting, well, how about the greeting and how you say hello? Dennis and I were talking earlier. I said, one of the things I've noticed is, you know, a lot of people text a lot, don't we? And when we text, a lot of times they forget any matter. Like if you meet someone in person, you're like, hey, Dennis, how you doing? How have you been? You know, man, you're looking good. Are you losing weight? But when we text, it's like, hey, did you do your Form 1000? And we lose the conversational part of it. Dennis, what about an answer to what do you do or what is it? That can be a trouble area.
Absolutely. A lot of times we stumble on responding to actually what we do. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're stumbling on describing what you do or what is it that you're doing, how does that person feel about you knowing what you're going to offer them? So once again, it's a trigger area.
Yep. Same with form, family, occupation, recreation, money, talking about the different things that, you know, may come up that can be a trigger area while we're doing that. Dennis, transitions, conversation to requesting something. That's a tough one, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, you can be in a conversation and then all of a sudden you want to make a hard right turn into talking business. And some of you make the biggest mistake when you say things like, let's cut to the chase. Oh, I want to strangle the person when they say that to me. I don't know if I want to cut to the chase. And what you've just done is irritate me. And so the transition during a conversation, listen, sometimes it's not going to be there. And you've just got to accept that you're going to have to get back with the person and with a follow-up call and just go back and highlight something that was in the conversation. Or you're working a conversation until something comes up that basically indicates something that they want that they don't have. That would be a good transition time.
Same thing with using open-ended questions, so you can get some answers back. And I know you're a master, I know you're going to talk about this, but asking a question when someone asks you a question, when showing the plan and using assumptive close techniques, things that can be done and trigger areas that can cause some conversation with that too.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
No. And that whole thing, that assumptive close throughout, when you first start showing the plan, you want to understand why this person wants to see the plan so that you can consistently throughout the presentation, can you see how you can get that savings amount that you're looking for? Can you see how you can get on to that vacation faster than you would normally? That's what I was just pushing out there, Jim, on the assumptive close.
That's perfect. And it's the same with sharing a product or talking about someone. You know, today I had someone I spent probably 45 minutes doing a consultation on products. But before we got together, I said, tell me what you're taking currently and what you're looking for. And she texted everything over. And, you know, it really became that conversation. And sometimes we're trying to push what we want instead of listening to what they need. So with sharing a product, make sure you're watching that too. And the last thing I'd say is booking a follow-up to get to that next step. These are areas that can be trigger areas that we have to troubleshoot at times.
Absolutely. And you said a mouthful. You were so spot on when you were talking about sometimes we don't listen to present the product that they're looking for. And we are so geared on selling something specific, you miss the sale. So again, Great points, Jim, on that. No question about it. Some of the inside tips that I think that are important for each of you, and this could automatically improve those trouble spots that we're talking about and also enhance on the conversational marketing as we'll get into, but attitude and atmosphere. You know, great attitudes lift you to the new level, a level that's going to inflate people and want to be with you. I think that's so very important. Also, you've got to understand people follow causes. So you've got to set the vision. And no matter what the reason is, there are many people that have that reason. So you might want to bring that cause. How do we help people get what they truly want? You know, the right vehicle. I know you're a master at this, Jim, this next point.
Well, leveraging everything we can do, using teammates. I mean, as you think about all these things, I was listening to you talk about cause, Dennis, and I was thinking, you know, you and I are both very cause driven. And we believe that there's a cause, a higher purpose for what we do, how we do it, the way we go after it, and feel that way. It is just, it's so important when you're talking to people that you leverage other people. You know, each one of these is important, but why not work as a team? I was meeting with people earlier today on an accountability group. We talked everything we do, we should do as twos, we should do as threes, because then it takes the pressure off of you at all times and makes it easier to be able to do.
I love it. Absolutely. And folks, you got to know your resources. Whatever direction you're going, preparation does mean a lot. Knowing what you have at your fingertips that could make the difference in the outcome. You've got to clear obstacles. If there's something that's blocking you mentally going into something, you got to overcome that. Embrace the obstacles, find out the answers, get to who you have to get those answers. And of course, have a great conversation and interaction and take this to heart. enjoy the experience. Be there, be involved with that. Very, very.
You know, Dennis, when you talk about knowing your resources, the person I was meeting with today, I could tell she was a huge researcher. She just knew a lot about products already. She was taking a lot of different things from other companies or GNC she was buying from. And I said, and so we were doing a Zoom, and I said, can I show you my screen? I took her to our Market America YouTube page. And I typed in I just typed in Deidre Mason, and all of her videos came up. Now, guys, you have a resource there for sharing products. I mean, it immediately, like the second one was about stress. And Andrea was like, wow, I can't wait. I'm going to watch every one of these. And I thought to myself, if she watches Dr. D, again, I'm leveraging. I'm going to be watching the Bucks or doing something different. Dr. D is going to be doing a recorded message, and I'm going to be moving tons of product. Know your resources, team.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, people often ask us, you know, why we do what we do. The bottom line is there is a method to our madness. So please understand that when we teach this. Jim, talk about posture.
Well, your posture is vital. And Dennis took this and he broke it down into a couple things. And, you know, one thing's that handshake. And, you know, now that we're getting back together, this is really important to think about. And, you know, you got that guy who grabs your hand and it actually hurts and you go down to your knees. That's not what you want to be. And you don't also want to be the one that goes like this or just, you want to give a nice, solid handshake. But it's amazing how many people don't really think about that. Good handshake. Look them in the eyes. You know, you want to make sure you've got a good look and you're standing straight. Limit any distractions that are going on. The eyes to me are vital. You're looking at that person. They're looking at you to see if you believe what's going on. Your body tells a lot. There's a lot of studies on this. So you have to say, if you say right now, I'm not good with my posture, I just don't have it. You can get better. You can improve on it, but it's a mental exercise. It's like when you walk in the room, don't walk in the room, own the room. Know that it's yours and have that posture when you do that.
Beautiful. I love that. You know, for me with the handshake, I love the ones that come up like they're royalty and they put that hand out like you're going to kiss the ring. And then I call the wet fish where they've got very sweaty palms when they meet you.
I didn't even want to talk about that
one. It's just a firm handshake. You know, some people will do the elbows and the fist bumps, but the bottom line, it's going to come back. From the look, it really goes from the look and the posture that you said, you know, the way you hold yourself, you know, bad posture, leaning forward or not standing up straight, and your eyes, I've got to give you this tip. Nothing is worse. Don't think for a minute that the person you're speaking to can't follow your eyes. So here's a tip. I want you to look to the top of their right eye. Look at their right eyebrow when you're having this conversation, and it will always look like you're staring them right in the face, like every word they're going to say is like, oh my God, I can't wait for the next thing. And from the limited distractions, get rid of that phone. Do not leave your phone on the table or the desk like you're the president and something's going to come up earth shattering, you know. Just get rid of that because they're going to put theirs up there. And of course, your body.
I was just going to say that, Dennis. You know, it's whenever you're with somebody and you're looking down at your phone all the time, what you're saying is you are not as important as what's going on here. And we unfortunately live in a day and age where a lot of people are always doing that. You can separate yourself very easily by being the person who puts the phone down, shuts it. One of my sons is 30 years old, and I am so proud that when we're at dinner, when we're doing anything together, the phone is shut down and he's eye to eye, he's asking questions. That's an important way to be in life. So these are great tips, Dennis, that you put together with this.
Okay, great. And, you know, again, don't even go to vibrate, go to silent, you know, on your phone. And of course, remember these tips. If you're sitting with someone, when you're leaning in, you're showing a lot of attention. When they say something, you could raise your eyebrows and it's going to show them that you're surprised. These are all things that you can show and an indication that's going to help you close the deal. Now, what we both want, Jim and I were talking about this, we want you to be your best version of yourself. Let's face it, when things are working for you, you're more confident. And so we just talked about eliminate your greatest distraction. There's going to be a lot of them, but whatever your greatest one is, root out the negative influences. Okay. If you've got it in your head that you don't have all the answers, then you're going to be very tentative. And by the way, what's the worst case scenario? You don't know an answer. It's a perfect way to schedule another follow-up call with the information. And of course, implement an anti-distraction system. It could be as simple as having a rubber band on your wrist and you slap it when you start drifting away. I mean, you got to do these kind of things.
Some people be bleeding tomorrow after doing this.
But don't be biting your hand or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you want to get active in implementing the results producing activities and the systems that support them. You want to always redefine your purpose. Like, get your head in the game. All right. I like using fire stoking rituals. I mean, these are the things that just jack you up, just before you get up on stage, before you get ready to get on a Zoom call. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell you a secret, Jim. My wife gives me a big chuckle because before I come up, I take a shower, I shave, I put cologne on. She says, "Why do you got cologne on?" I said, "I got smell-o-vision. You never know. I got to be ready to go." But whatever it is, the fire stoking rituals, you get it done. You get into your zone, you set your timelines, and you get your measurements, and bam, you go after it right there. Poof.
It's funny you say stuff like that because, like, when I'm getting set and I'm making appointments, I'll be yelling to Lisa in the other room. I'm like, "Who's the greatest appointment setter ever?" Because I'm getting myself ready to go. And then I'll knock one down, and I'm like, "That's right. That's right." And we're both laughing. But you know what it does? It gets us going and doing that. And like you said, you gotta stoke that fire, whether it's listening to an audio before you do calls, something that gets you in a positive frame of mind. Make sure you do that.
Find that elevation. Find it. So absolutely.
With conversational marketing, it is prospecting, right? It's when we're out, it's when we're about, it's when we're just talking to people. It's what expands your business and your customer base, and it's duplicatable. I know Dennis and I have made a career of talking to people, but not constantly feeling like we're selling to people. This is what I'm trying to get at with you. It's sometimes, you're with people, you don't have to sell every second, but you might be opening up a door to something later on. You might be setting something up, but your mind's always there and you're always thinking about it, but it's not necessarily selling every second.
I totally agree. And this is something where you're not in a hurry. You're going to create multiple friendships or relationships. Conversational marketing is filling the bean jar. That's the first part of effective prospecting. And what happens mathematically, the more beans in the jar gives you a lower percentage of numbers you have to close to get what you're looking for. So again, have fun in making that happen. So where do we start in conversational marketing? We're at the starting block. Every one of us tonight, we're at that starting block. And I want to go right after where we're going to get started.
Well, think about the people that you know right away. Dennis and I were talking earlier, and some people say, "Oh, be careful, your friends, your family, they're the most negative." Not always. And especially not with the way we've been teaching, through JR's method of using an evaluation. A lot of times they can lead to some great people. So that warm market may lead to some great people, your family, your friends, your workmates, the people you hang around with a lot. And then of course you got a cold market, which is everyone else. But this is where we expand, we get more people, we let people know what we're doing, and we make more friendships, because really I've always believed the more friends you have, the easier the business is going to be to build, because that's your next step.
Absolutely. And if you really think about it, they say that everybody knows at least 300 people, but just think of 100 that you knew 100. Just think about this. Every one of those 100 people also have a circle of influences of 300 more people. And my goodness, we're talking what, 300,000 names? I mean, 30,000 names. My math is off, but 30,000 names, really? That starts covering the cold market too. It's just like crazy when you think about it. So what skills do we really need as we move forward? And we've got to talk about asking questions, probing. And Jim, you know, I'm a fan of impact selling. And after you investigate and approach and meet the people, you've got to start talking about questions, open-ended questions. And these are the things that get the person talking more. You don't want to be the person doing all the talking. If you catch that, then it's not going well. You've got to basically push those
100% with
questions
that.
Okay. And then listening, make mental notes as to the answers to the questions you're asking. All right. What am I talking about here? Well, when we're talking about the questions, we know we're looking for specific answers, but we're not saying them. Okay. If we're not hearing them, maybe there might be a reference which may stimulate another question based on what they said in a different way. And then by all means, this is something that I have seen over and over again where people have made the sell, Jim, and lost it because they could not restrain themselves from not only answering the questions, but telling them everything they know about the unfranchised business market, America. And look at me, I can recite the manual. Oh, God, why are you doing that? Did you ever have somebody on your team do that? I just want to say, slow it down. God.
Slow it down. A lot, it's when, especially new people, we tend to get that, what we call vomiting out of the mouth about the business. And, but again, this goes back to Dennis, posture. When you have good posture, you're not throwing everything out at once. You're keeping things back so you have that next level to say something, the next level to say something, next level. If you give it all up at once and they say something you can't answer, you're shot at that point. So have some restraint, show some posture in that what you have is great.
Great point. And I love the fact that you said hold some things back. Don't put it all out there too soon. Before you know it, you'll have some challenges that you won't be able to respond to.
And prospecting should be fun. I've one of the things, and I think Dennis, we're similar this way. I don't ever feel like I have to work that hard on a cold market because I always try to get my warm market to lead to my cold market, if that makes sense. And when you have fun with people, like the lady I was talking to today comes from my neighbors who we went on a vacation with, who they went on vacation with us, who's texting me while I'm here and I'm not looking at my phone because I've been talking about my distractions, snap, because she's trying to order right now. And while you're doing this, we had fun the whole time together. It shouldn't be pressure, but I was never in this trying to get them in, trying to get them to do it, trying to get there. It was more about let's get there. But was I prospecting? You bet. I look at every person I meet, just as I did when I used to interview in my old corporate jobs before, and I would recruit people for sales. It was no different. If I found a great waitress, I was thinking, I wonder if she would have any interest in a sales career. It's no difference here. I'm just going to have fun. There's no pressure on me because they don't even know me that well, right?
Exactly. So important.
Yeah,
So,
well, Kate told me on one rare occasion.
Question that you can't answer, or you don't want to answer the question without more information, ask another question. So I want to go through this series with you, Jim, and for our listeners tonight. Here's an example. Common, by the way. Do I have to sell? Well, instead of saying yes or no, you're going to say, well, are you looking for an opportunity that allows you to sell? Now, whether they say yes or no, get this, this is really good. You'll be excited about what we'll be discussing. Okay. So again, you don't really want to have to answer this question because right up front, it could close the deal before you get any further. All right. Because people sell their entire life, Jim. Think about it. If you're married, you have convinced someone to live the rest of your life with you.
That is the greatest sales job ever.
That is your best sales job ever. And if you got kids, that is your worst sales job ever. I mean, you can never get them to do what you need them to do. But in this case, you're saying, wow, is this something that's important to you? And they'll tell you which way you want to go. And I just think it's really powerful for people to get comfortable. But the point here is you got to be relaxed enough to be able to respond correctly. I think too many people get wound up too tight, going through the process.
You do. I've heard you do this too, Dennis, with someone asking about, is this network marketing? Or instead of getting no or yes or all excited, asking back, well, what's your experience with network marketing? Sometimes people have had great experiences, but wrong company. So they love the idea of it, but they're looking for something different. Ask the question to find out more information. Again, Dennis said it perfectly. If you're the one doing the most talking, you're probably losing at that point. You want to get them to talk more.
Absolutely. Great point. Go ahead, Jim.
And as we talk about questions, and I do really think you are a master on this, the person asking the questions controls the direction and the outcome, because you can change where that's going a little bit by asking more. This is, and very honestly, probably more of a weakness for me that has become stronger over the last 2 decades of working on it. My wife is a great, I'll call it a question asker. She will immediately talk to people and be able to ask questions and lead a conversation. And people will say, she is the nicest person. And because she's getting them to do what? She's getting them to talk about them, and she's controlling where it's going. And I think all of you should think about that. That's real prospecting. That's real relationship building. It is taking the focus off of you and letting them share.
And I see women doing this in a very big way, and they're in conversation, and women are very good about complimenting other women in the colors that they're wearing. And, that really switches it, the clothes that they're wearing, where they shop. And then before you know it is, where do you shop? Do you shop online? And then what are your favorite stores? And boom, it just starts, hey, if I can show you a way. So all of that becomes really important as we go along.
Asking question is your way of qualifying the prospect to see if you want to show them the plan. If I'm asking questions and the answers coming back just aren't the right ones, sometimes that's where you say, hey, you don't have to say it out loud, but in your mind, you are figuring out, do I want to go further in terms of qualifying this person or not? And it's okay, team, for somebody not to qualify it as well. They just may not be the right person. They may not be in the right spot right now. And that's what asking questions is going to lead you to.
Great point. And again, become a master at asking open-ended questions, and you'll get more and more appointments and follow-up appointments booked. So what happens? Let's talk a little bit about this more.
Well, a lot of times, if they start asking you a lot of questions, right?
Yes.
What do? You can meet with them to give them information. Again, I'm going to go back to posture. I'm a big posture guy on this. But if they start asking a lot of times I'm going to say, you know what? Now's probably not the exact time we should be doing this. How about we set up a time to get back together? Because if you just open the schedule, if you just do everything, it's showing that you are almost needy at that point. So questions are good, but if they start asking too many, let's switch it to setting an appointment.
I love what you said. If you start answering everything they ask, you become needy. And, even though we are thinking we're engaged in this conversation and people are loving this, I got one, they keep talking. Well, guess what? They ran out of all their questions and you got nothing. So again, you got to watch yourself on that. So conversational marketing, what's it about? It's about creating conversations that lead to a desired outcome, a want or a need that leads to a solution that leads to a partner or a sale. So again, We're looking to be engaged in conversations until something comes up that a person wants or needs. And for those of you that may or may not know this, the number one and number two reasons why people buy is number one, to avoid pain, and number two, to get more pleasure. Those are one and two. And that's been done in studies. And if you start thinking about it, remember how Jim would always say, people always talk about how good it is, how bad it is, and how I wish it could be. Well, in essence, that's exactly what he's saying. Stay engaged long enough until they tell you.
If you talk to people long enough, they're going to lead to something that leads back to the business, right? He said, there were 5 things, and I can't remember all of them. He said, it's all people talk about, and it all comes back to the business eventually.
Absolutely. So, there you are, you're sitting in a situation and you're hearing things coming out, and it's just starting to register. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to do a third-party referral. Well, I have a friend, a business partner, who had the same desire that you had, and they were able to achieve that in just 18 months. Gosh, I think I want to introduce you to, because you'd have a lot to talk about. Maybe they can provide a solution. So what did I just do? I just gave you a third-party credibility source, not me selling, but me connecting, acting as the connector, and I'm the good guy.
Okay. And you're using your leverage again, like we talked about earlier, using the leverage of teammates.
Now I have a 3-way call set up. And a lot of times, folks, you have to be a little bit more strategic in 3-way calls. That's a perfect way. So when you hear something, try to relate something to someone on your team, somebody in the GMTSS that you're working within, and leverage one another. This is sort of the buddy system that Jay talks about. It's another part of the buddy system that can help set up good positive calls. Okay, so this is your quote. I got this from you. I learned this from you.
I believe in it. I don't believe, scripts are great from a standpoint of learning dialogue, but what you really need to do is learn to speak in the themes, the conversations, and lose the script, because when you sound scripted, people feel that. And as it says here, it's not a script, it's a path. So learn how to engage in conversations and be you. I can't be exactly like Dennis, definitely can't dance as well. I can't do some of the things that he can do, or Elizabeth can do, or other people, but you know what? I can be the best version of Jim that I can be. And that's really what I work on. And by being true to myself, that comes across to people. And I think that's so important. That's why I've always said lose the scripts, because when people feel you're not authentic, then they don't feel comfortable with going further with you in the direction you're going.
Jim, I'm going to say this. You've had an advantage over myself and Elizabeth. You've been able to observe a lot of us. And, that's probably one of the reasons you have done so well, because you are that blend of so many success stories. And I just love seeing that,
Well, good teachers, a lot of them.
Okay. So then you want to start learning how to relate your business or your products to the conversation. Give you an example. Let's just say I'm out selling Peak Performance, or I'm selling our nutritional shake as a protein-based shake, or I'm selling the Prime Secretagogue. Now, I relate those to active people. All right, it doesn't have to be active people, but when I'm in a conversation, I might say, "Hey, did you catch the Bucks series? I mean, it's amazing. Are you following the NBA at all?" Now I'm fishing. And the odds are maybe they are, because it's the best time of the year to watch sports, there. Now, in that transfer, I can say something, "You look great. Do you work out?" Okay. Talk to me about what you currently do, and then I can move into what are you doing to help your success along? Have you ever heard of amino acid stacks and secretagogues, or have you heard of branch chain amino acids? I can start talking about something specific about the product that I'm going to. Jim, have you ever had an opportunity to leverage something and move into the business per se?
You know, it's again, paying attention. This weekend, our daughter's boyfriend was up from Chicago, and I have not seen him in a little while. And when we went wake surfing, of course, he, was in his bathing suit, and all of a sudden, I looked at him and I said, he is cut. He has taken off a bunch of weight. And I asked him, I said, hey, Charlie, at first compliment, Charlie, you look great. Second, what are you doing? Because I know between, A, I'm curious, which is the most important part, but B, that can lead back into different products and different things for other people that are on the boat listening as well. But I did want to know, because he had really changed the physique. And we all notice people do that. Don't be shy on complimenting. I'll guarantee you that they're happy that you're taking notice of it.
And they say that a compliment can change a person's day immediately for the better. And isn't it great, Jim, when you can have a positive conversation and still lead to something that's going to be good for your business at the same time?
Always. Always.
And
you know what? If it doesn't, Dennis, that's okay too, right?
Yep.
And that's what I want everyone to understand. When you're giving it, give a real compliment. If it leads to something great, if it doesn't, great. But I'll tell you what, by putting it out there, you're increasing your odds 100-fold, saying something nice to somebody.
Absolutely. And it really becomes easy too when people start talking about their need for secondary incomes. And, we like to talk about multiple streams of income, supplemental income. And, you keep your options open. Have you ever explored? What have you explored? That's a great question. What have you explored in this gig economy to make another stream of income for the family? It's great to listen on what's going on. And that just makes it so much more intriguing and interesting.
It does, 100%. So what are some topics for warm or cold market? Well, again, asking somebody, how's work been? If you haven't seen someone in a while, are you still cranking it up? How's it been? Are you having fun? People will, they'll unleash good or bad and let you know how things are going. When you meet somebody new, I know it's very standard if I'm talking to somebody, I say, hey, what do you do for work, or what do you do for a living? And they always ask back then. I'm saying that sounds interesting. When someone's talking, say, well, that sounds really interesting. How did that happen? Do you have to deal with politics at work? How many of you know people deal with politics at work? Right? It just is what that can lead to a whole nother thing. All you're doing with this is you're creating a conversation, because conversations lead the right way eventually. And that's really all Dennis and I are talking to you about tonight, is how to create conversations.
Some great questions, Jim. I know you put some more down. Here's a couple more you listed earlier.
Do you plan on retiring from where you work? Some people say, I'm never retiring, work to the day I die. And that's their plan. And that may not be a bad plan. It just may be what it is, right? But it allows you to have an opportunity. No, what is your plan? What's your plan B? I love to talk to people more about what would you like to do on the side if you could do something? What could build something? What if they say yes? Wow, that industry must really pay well, because if someone's going to retire early, in this day and age, it is a tough thing to do in this world, isn't it, Dennis, to retire early for people and want to retire.
Amen. And I want to go back to that first question you pointed out here. Do you plan on retiring from where you work? Today, if you talk to a millennial, you won't find very many that's going to work the 45-year plan. They're going to probably work 9 5-year plans, or,
yeah, very true.
5, 10-year plans, but they won't see themselves in the same place very long, because most people coming up today are looking for that big bump. They're looking for that way to break loose, create the next app and so forth. But there comes a time in their life where they realize that they're going to have to look at the options. And that makes it really important for all of that. Some other things that I put together on this following that would be, do you shop? And basically, if you're shopping like everybody else, what if you could put an extra $4,000 to $5,000 back in your pocket by changing the way you shop. Would you? Okay. Now, let me make this very clear. I said changing the way you shop because we're not competing with Amazon. Okay. We are shop.com. We have an amazing compensation plan tied into shop.com that no one else has on the planet. And so we have to change the way people shop. Okay. So you're setting yourself up to go in for an evaluation. I hope everybody understands that. Does that make sense, Tim? Did I say that?
It does, and it was really good because you don't want to be in a comparison with Amazon. That's not what we're trying to do with the way we do business. We are changing the way they shop so they have that ability to generate that extra income through our cash back or through eventually maybe being a partner sometime in the future.
Right. And see, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make that are unfranchised owners, they ask people if they shop, but they just want to sell shop.com as the ultimate shopping, destination. And yeah, it's great. But listen, understand who and what we are and what we're doing. All right. We are basically aggregating the purchases. We're doing this digital aggregation, as we call it. We are a true internet marketing company. So it is changing the way people do things. Do you know anyone that shops? Here you go. If you could help them save money by changing the way they shop, would you help them?
Yeah.
And if
how many of us all know somebody who shops a lot, right, Dennis?
Yeah. Yeah, they're called our wives. But anyway, but the bottom line is if the person says, no, I wouldn't tell them, they don't qualify. Do not talk any further with them. You see how you can have fun with this. It just makes sense. But the tweak is if they change the way they shop. Okay. So the folks that are using, do you shop online? Great. But you're not following through by saying, if you were out there changing the way people shop so they can earn or save X, so there are certain things that can change that conversation for you. So here we got our homework assignment for this week. So get your pen and paper out or put it in your phone. I would like you, based on our conversations, with what we went through tonight, is list your top 3 areas that you find most challenging in building the business. Okay. And then what I want you to do would be able to write your recommendations on how you would improve them. So you're going to pick your top 3 areas you want to improve on. You're going to write the recommendations based on what we talked about tonight or what you learned. And then I want you to implement these recommendations at least once with someone observing you. Okay. I don't just want to hear that you did it. I want somebody on your team or a buddy to observe. And then I'd like you to grade yourself on your execution. And again, you can submit it to the Master UFO at marketamerica.com. I just think this is something that can be very powerful for each of you to do. Listen, but don't wait till Thursday to do this. Get on it tomorrow. List these out and use the rest of the week to be able to implement this on there. And I think that's really, really important for you in your homework assignment. Jim, final comments?
I'd tell everyone, wherever you're at, when Dennis and I were going through and practicing this earlier, and we got to that part of what are my 3 most challenging areas, whatever it is, you can get better at it. And I think that's your key, but it may take practice. It may take self-development. It may take work. And that's why he mentioned having a buddy with you to see how you're doing with that. I remember starting the business, and Dennis, I was so bad at certain areas I started with. I remember practicing like on stuffed animals. You know what I mean? I was like just trying to get how I would say things. And I would even tape record myself. You can take your phone and you can tape record yourself. saying something, and sometimes I'd hear my answer and I'd say, that was just the dumbest answer ever. And I then work on a better one. Like I'd give myself my own objection and how I would try to answer it. And you'll find very quickly that things get a lot easier. And I would say with the conversational marketing, take it and go find some people. Take it and go make some friends. That should be one of the big takeaways is you're going to make more friends and have more fun with this business.
Excellent. Great information there. I want to throw on top of that is when we identify the challenging areas, okay, those would basically be called your weaknesses or areas that you can improve. It's funny, I'm doing a local this Saturday in California. And, you know, one of the things I really like to work on are the weakest parts of your basic five, because I believe if you work to your weakness, you'll build them to your strengths, to the strengths that you already have, and you'll have the complete game. And this is the concept that we're working on here. We're troubleshooting in the areas that you're not getting the responses that you want. So we want to build to that. And I know that we like to build to our strengths because it's comfortable. But, you know, we talked about get uncomfortable, you make more progress. Yeah. And this is exactly where we're pushing you to. That's right. We're pushing you. It reminds me of the story about a gentleman who was having a party and he had a swimming pool, Jim, and it was loaded with sharks. It was loaded with sharks. He was a rich man, and he basically reached out and he said, I will give $1 million to the person that could swim from the one end of the pool to the other end of the pool and survive. And the next thing you know, you hear a splash. Bam! Guy is flying across the pool. He gets across the pool. He gets out. His clothes is all ripped up. And the guy says, congratulations, you won $1 million. He says, I don't care about that. Get me the guy who pushed me in the pool. And so the bottom line is we're pushing you, folks. Do you understand that? We are pushing you to be your best version of yourself. So I want to leave you with that thought. And Jim, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to do these with you.
Same. We enjoyed so much. And team, I'm glad. I love all the comments. It's been great watching you and responding, and take it and go out. And I always like to say, do something right away. You know, it's a little later, of course, East Coast right now, but make a call tomorrow morning while everything's fresh. Do something while it's fresh. Create that momentum. 23 days to still hit Master UFO. Dennis, fantastic job. Thank you again. And I look forward to seeing everyone next week again.
Good night, all.